Greetings and welcome to another edition of the Grandmaster Chess Academy, Playchess.com, fun analysis, Blitz. This is as you can see, a 3-minute Blitz game. My opponent is the Italian Devil. Okay. This is a tough game right here. There's no crushing this at all. In time trouble, I and my opponent both make a couple of questionable moves. I miss a couple of good moves along the way. But overall, it's a strong game of chess worthy of study and consideration. Alright. So it's a Sicilian game. And there's some typical first moves. These kind of moves that you can find at the highest levels of chess, 2700, 2800 level chess. And with the C3 move, we have the Sicilian Alapin variation. And we continue to follow in the path of the super grandmasters, the Wang Haos, the Hikaru Nakamura's of the world. But here I divert to Potterdom. The simple check. There are actually quite a few games played by international masters, unfortunately always with the black pieces, and interestingly enough, lower rated players tend to play this opening against those stronger level players, 2300, 2400, 2500 level players. So they have a terrible record in the chess-based database, but you know, as them. Anyway, for the next few moves we tend to follow those games. A lot of these moves seem typical, reasonable, natural. Here's just mostly natural development going on. I probably did better to play knight to e5 here. But I wanted to get out. Here, bishop to g5. It's not a bad idea. Any stretch the imagination. Slows down development. But I want bishop to f4. And here is e5. Knight h5. Even knight g4. Getting back to here, I don't know if you want to block this square off. It allows your bishop to go back and you can start setting up various batteries and attacks against the king's side. But you know, then it becomes quickly within white's interest to eliminate the queens off the board. But my opponent beat me to the idea. And now we are absolutely in our own world of chess. There's other games that are actually still close to these positions, but now we're flying by the seat of our pants, looking for good moves. Here I made an unnecessary trade. But I can do damage with knights. Knights are very tricky. And the position is not completely open yet, so his bishop is not yet useful. He pushes. I ask hard questions. Here bishop to d6 was better. At least according to Fritz, but that's at a depth of 19. Ask more questions. Only real answer. Here, knight to c5 is not bad. Eyeing that e6 pawn. The potential for complications against the bishop and the rook. I said h3. Now for me, I'm thinking prophylaxis in case things are going to start rolling. I want to be ready. I don't want this pawn to be under unnecessary attack. I want to be able to roll out. Now I could try to waste moves on leaving the pawn there and just stepping up, see if he takes it, and then try and trap it. But you know, this guy's played a solid game thus far. I'm not looking for tricks. I'm looking for solid moves. So he asked the question of my knight to kick it. Now he's just weakening his king side position. I don't know, that's a strong move. I think the computer was not too happy with that. This is the correct response. Here my opponent went a6. And here I was supposed to see, although you can see I got a minute and 42 seconds on my clock, so I'm trying to look quicker. And so I missed a simple knight to c5, attacking the e6 and the a6 pawn. And in a rush and looking at my own ideas, it takes a minute before I start to understand what's actually going on in the position. So I went c4 instead, bc4, knight c4. White is winning in this position. King to b8 is correct. a3 is not active again. I had the knight to c5, just not seeing it, down to minute 38. Again, knight to c5, but it's gone now. I just don't see it. This isn't bad. White is still winning, but white went from winning by 0.9 to perhaps a whole pawn to a whole point to just half a point. Slightly better. You know, I'm eyeing this c6 square and the fears that can cause, but this is easily answered with king to b7. So I start coming over, getting myself more centralized. This is knight to a5, knight to c2, just getting out of the way, e5. Here I harmonize up and also looking for advanced squares. And he clears out the middle, giving it, to me, kinda, his bishop and rook are holding the file anytime he wants. And here he says a4. So knight to f5, asking serious questions. Here I say now after d6. King to c6, doesn't really say much, but now I come back and ask another question. Keeping those pawns moving, changing up what they have to work with. Until your position is completely set, it can be dangerous to move your pawns. Gotta be careful with that kind of stuff. And here, with time very low on the Italian Devil's clock, I am able to get a free pawn out of the position. I'm doing better, but this game is not won by white. So much to play for. Rook to e8, knight to g5, re-centralizing my world. e4. Now I'm like, okay, you gotta go. And so he just comes on in. How you doing? Step up to protect. He goes over rook to b8. Knight to e6. And rook to b3. Now this is a blunder on black's part. But with 21 seconds on my clock, he only has 4 seconds on his clock, these kind of moves become more forgivable. But this is also a blunder on my part because I didn't see it. A simple move. Knight to d4, forking the king and the rook. And then black is basically won. It's just a matter of making correct moves from there. There's a lot to ask when you don't have a lot of time on your clock. This is quite obvious. As I missed the move, and we would have had a one game, this ends up being a slightly better game. Until I make this move. Now I'm lost. Rook takes pawn, real simple. Don't know what I saw here. Just moving fast. Don't move against the time on the clock. Play the position on the board. I had a nice move like rook to c2, which says a lot, answers serious questions, and then I can get my knight over after getting my king up. There are things that can be done at that point, but here I blunder. My opponent in a rush just clears out. Ask me a question, but that's it. Now I'm good. Now my chess vision's back. Now I can see what needs to happen in the board. Here, I step out, king d4, and I attack with the check. Time is of the essence at this point. When I make my final move, I have about 1.7 seconds on my clock. So I check him. I want the pawn. However, even at a greater depth of 25, this position is still pretty much a dead draw. I take a pawn, he gets a pawn, and it's trying to outplay each other. However, he had ran out of time, so the Italian Devil gets a heavenly beat down. Anyway, pay attention to your moves. Don't just play against the clock. Look for your opportunities. Don't miss out on them. And study. Yes, chess, love.